Are women oppressed by Islam or empowered by it? It's a question that sparks heated debate. Much is due to the West's long-standing negative propaganda, portraying Muslim women as oppressed and subjugated. So why are so many Western women leaving the freedoms of the West and converting to Islam? Could the opposite be true? Could it be that Islam actually empowers women? Well, keep watching until the end and you will be surprised how Islam superseded the West in giving women rights. Islam not only gave women rights, but established for them an honored status at a time in history when they were marginalized and oppressed. It challenged the way women were being treated and perceived in a society ruled by paganism and tribalism. When Islam came, it gave women freedom. Freedom to inherit, to vote, to worship, to get an education, and even to choose who they marry. It may be difficult for Western audiences to conceive that certain rights they afford women today were granted to Muslim women more than 1400 years ago. In 7th century Mecca, a prophet named Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, rose to prominence preaching the worship of the one true God. At that time, Mecca was a pagan society in which women were seen as mere chattel to be bought and sold. A society marked by tribal customs and pagan superstitions, in which women were seen as commodities, assets to be traded for goods or to create alliances between tribes. Islam brought about a seismic shift in the societal landscape and changed the way women were perceived, much to the dismay of the ruling elites. At that time, the birth of a girl was considered a misfortune, and newborn girls were often buried alive, a practice known as ward. Islam tackled the plight of women head-on by putting an end to this practice. It proclaimed the equality of men and women in the eyes of God. The Quran, Islam's holy scripture, states in chapter 4 verse 1, "O mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from one soul and created from it its mate and dispersed from them many men and women." This verse underscores the fundamental belief that men and women are equal in worship, a stark contrast to the prevailing beliefs of the time. It instilled dignity and respect for women by allowing them the right to choose who they marry. Furthermore, it laid the groundwork for the right of women to inherit, to study, and essentially, the right to vote. A right that was only granted to women in the West after much protest 130 years ago. It was under the Representation of the People's Act in 1918 that Britain allowed women to vote, and even later in America, in 1920, with the passage of the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution. While Muslim women have enjoyed the right to vote and to participate in society as fully fledged members for over 1400 years. In Europe during the 16th century, the Christian Anabaptists held the controversial belief that women were devoid of souls altogether. It justified their subordination and limited their roles to domestic and reproductive functions. Women were excluded from leadership positions and theological discussions. Many argue that this was a small group, and although one of its leaders, Menno Simons, did try and change this belief, it is easy to see the negative reverberations such ideas had on Western society because women had very few rights up until the 1900s. Islam is the pioneering force in establishing what the West calls women's rights. The value of women is deeply embedded in the religion's teachings, holding women in the highest status as mothers, wives, and spiritual teachers. Islam reveres many women for their piety, wisdom, strength, and mentions them in its holy scripture, from Mary, the mother of Jesus, to Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh. Another misconception perpetuated by the West is that Muslim women are forced into marriage. While this practice was rife in pagan Mecca before the advent of Islam, and still exists in some cultures, when Islam came, it did away with such practices. It allowed women to reject or accept a marriage proposal as they wish. It further protected women by legislating that they should receive a dowry upon marriage. This would guarantee a woman financial security in case of divorce or the death of a husband. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The best among you are those who are good to their women." There is no room for ambiguity in the rights and responsibilities Islam places on believers. It clearly defines the roles of men and women in society, creating a well-ordered structure that enables families and in turn communities to function harmoniously. Islam celebrates the differences between men and women and asserts that they complement each other. Though equal in worship, the role of the man is that of provider, protector, and authority over his household, while the woman's role is that of mother, nurturer of the family, and supporter of her husband. This does not mean women cannot work, it just means her primary focus is that of wife and mother rather than breadwinner. Women are not obliged to work, they are provided for by the men of the family or if they are married, their husband. Without the burden of earning an income, women are free to fully embrace the role of wife, mother, homemaker, and spiritual teacher. This structure forms a strong family unit and in turn, strong communities. In Islam, it is not about equality but equitability, being treated fairly and justly within fulfilling your roles and responsibilities to each other and to the community. In the West, however, women seek equality with men in every aspect of life: work, sports, leadership, politics, money, business, and relationships, creating an environment that is competitive and combative. Another right Islam brought was divorce. Not that it was unheard of, but Islam allowed a woman to initiate it. Although divorce overall was rare, to allow a woman to initiate it was revolutionary. Christianity discouraged divorce altogether, emphasizing reconciliation and forgiveness. By the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church formalized its position through canon law to recognize annulment. Divorce, however, remained prohibited until the 16th century, when Protestant reformers like Martin Luther allowed it on the grounds of adultery and desertion. Despite this, divorce laws were often patriarchal and favored men. It's only since the modern era that women have been able to file for a divorce. It is also worth noting that different denominations and traditions have differing practices. Thus, whether a woman is entitled to a divorce can differ among Christian groups. Western society frowns upon a woman who wants to be a mother or homemaker. Feminists, the upholders of women's rights, are never seen defending the rights of a woman who chooses to be a stay-at-home mother, or a woman who chooses to dress modestly, for instance. Even governments throughout the West that encourage women to work by subsidizing childcare costs refuse to pay mothers to stay at home and care for their own children. Despite women's rights movements, new legislations, and claims of advancements in equal opportunities, women's rights are more elusive than ever. Women rarely get equal pay and very few still fill the top-paying jobs. In fact, a recent survey found that women monetizing personal intimacy on a well-known website made more money than those in highly accomplished corporate roles. One thing that has increased for women is the amount of responsibilities they bear. Western society overburdens women, and without a close community and solid family structure to fall back on, women are getting burnt out. Another profound change Islam brought was to permit a man to marry up to 4 wives. Although this sounds radical, consider that it was a time when men could have any number of wives and concubines. In addition, Islam stated that if a man could not deal with all of them justly, he should only marry one. This put a huge responsibility on a man, as now he would have to provide for each wife equally of his time and wealth. In contrast with the Torah, which states King David had multiple wives, including Michal, Ahinoam, Abigail, Maacah, Haggith, Abital, and Eglah. While King Solomon is cited as having had many wives and concubines in the Old Testament, 1 Kings 11 verses 1-3. Islam allowed women the right to inherit, to an education, and to participate in public life. During the Islamic Golden Age, we saw the fruition of these rights when Fatima al-Fihri founded the world's first university, and Maryam al-Astrolabi invented the astrolabe, a mathematical device used in astronomy. Their achievements stand as a testament to the opportunities that Islam provided for women's intellectual development. Today, we see a new generation of Muslim women pushing boundaries, challenging stereotypes, and asserting their rights within the framework of their faith. They are not passive recipients of their rights, but active participants in shaping their destiny. The narrative about how they are empowered by their faith and the societies they live in. Empowerment in Islam is about giving women their rightful place. It's about acknowledging their equal worth and their entitlement to opportunities and rights. Though the West likes to focus on what Muslim women wear, this is a superficial concern. Islam focuses on their worth, the value they bring to their communities. Islam gives women honor by not allowing them to be viewed as mere objects of beauty. It teaches women to hold themselves to a higher standard, to strive in knowledge, spirituality, and to have a purpose. Islam teaches women that their value is not in how they look, but how they fulfill their purpose to God, to their family and community. A key aspect of women's empowerment in Islam is the right to inheritance. This was a revolutionary concept when it was first introduced because it recognized that a woman had a right to financial security too. Interestingly, it wasn't until the late 19th century that Western societies began to grant women a similar right. Moreover, Islam has always upheld a woman's right to vote, to express her opinion, and to participate in public affairs. This is well documented in the life of Prophet Muhammad, who consulted women and valued their opinions. The right to work and earn a living is another important facet of empowerment, but it is no way an obligation on a woman. Islam does not restrict women from working and earning. Khadija, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, was a successful businesswoman. Islam encourages business and trade, but a woman cannot let her work conflict with her faith and responsibilities. Islam places a great emphasis on seeking knowledge for both men and women. It is a religion that encourages intellectual curiosity and growth. Furthermore, men and women are equally accountable for their actions and have equal opportunity to earn spiritual success. The Prophet Muhammad once said, "Women are the twin halves of men," emphasizing the spiritual equality of men and women. Islam encourages women to contribute to the well-being of their family and community, to strive for personal growth and development. It gives women rights and responsibilities that ensure their dignity, respect, and protection, rights that can never be degraded or taken away. Unlike the West, in which international law and human rights law have disintegrating in the wake of events in Palestine, this should be enough to make one realize the fragility of man-made laws which are subservient to the whims of money and power. So, in the light of these facts, it's clear that Islam has always been a religion that values and empowers women. It pushes women to hone their character and spirituality, urging them to look beyond the superficial and hypersexualized images of women in the West. It's time to ditch false Western propaganda and look beyond it to find the truth. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And